This is Levi Lusko, and I wanted to say thank you so much to Dr. Tim and to Kyle and to everybody for allowing me to come and be a part of this global day of hope. What a wonderful idea. And thank you so much for logging on and for letting me just spend a moment with you. I want to speak to you out of themes that are in my book, Through the Eyes of a Lion, Facing Impossible Pain, Finding Incredible Power. And this is much more than just a book I wrote, the first book I wrote, actually. This is a life message for me and for my family. And it's something that I utilize every single day to keep going on and to thrive even in the midst of the difficulties and the hardship. The Through the Eyes of a Lion message is about a metaphor. It's a metaphor of using the eyes of a lion as a telescope to view what you face in life through the lens of faith. Everything changes if you have the right or the wrong lens. My son loves to grab binoculars and to look out across the lake or the valley or the mountain to see birds or to see animals. And those lenses, they allow the human eye to be assisted in taking what's far away and what's unobtainable and bringing them closer. I mean, if you even use a simple small telescope, it changes the amount of stars that you can see. Not that it makes there be any more stars, but it allows what you can't perceive due to distance and interference to become seen. And so it allows you to keep going on. Lions are incredible at seeing. They can see 6 times better than a human, amazingly. In fact, for a lion, what would be for you or for me, it's unobservable, unperceivable out in the distance. They would say, I know exactly what that is. That's lunch. That's what I'm gonna be having for lunch right there. And the reason lions' eyes see so well is because they're optimized for sight. Their pupils are bigger, can be stretched wider. A lion's eyes have a reflective surface coating the back wall, so that any light that comes in bounces back. That's why all cats' eyes shine. If you take a photograph, their cat's eyes will glow because of that reflective surface that coats the back wall of the eye. It allows them to not have access to more light, but they use the light they do get more efficiently. Oh, also, they have that beautiful white stripe. Lions have white under their eyes. And this is the opposite of why a football player might put eye black on. We would do that to minimize a glare in the daytime in the bright sunlight so we could see a pass, to see a throw, to see a receiver out there. Lions have white under their eyes to maximize a glare so that any faint light at all will be directed straight into the darkest part of what's above it, which is the pupil, bringing that light in. Lions also have more more rods than cones in their eye. Those are the two things that allow us to see both color and shape. Rods help us to see shape, cones help us to see color. Lions are not who you want to ask if you're picking out a color of a dress, because they don't do color well. They don't have very many cones, but they have a lot of rods, so they can see shape very well. All of this to say, lions' eyes were optimized, created by God, you might say, to see well. And so they give for us a beautiful illustration of what it looks like to look at life through a lens of faith. That is to say that you're not going to have access to more light. You don't need more light. You just need to better use the light that's there. And I believe that light has come in the person of Jesus, who has turned off the darkness of death by bringing light to this world, a world of despair, a world of pain, a world of brokenness, but he has brought peace because he is the Prince of Peace. Jesus doesn't just bring hope, he is hope. And so with that light that is there, that we have in this world, we just need to have our eyes opened up. That's why Paul said in Ephesians, I pray that your eyes would be opened, that your spiritual pupils would be dilated, so that all the light that's there would flood into your eye, bringing you hope. And this was a message that as I came up with it, as God was giving it to me, I needed it desperately. Because we were in the midst of a challenging season, amidst of incredible pain. As our 5-year-old daughter, Lenya, had left this world after an asthma attack 5 days before Christmas to go home to be with Jesus in heaven. And in the midst of that pain, in the midst of that difficulty, in the midst of that suffering, we looked to Jesus to give us light so that we could face the impossible pain we were facing, but do so with the incredible power that we believed he wanted to give to us. So we didn't just look at our circumstances, we chose to look at it through the right lens, for us a biblical lens, a lens of faith that allowed us, like a lion's eyes, to look at what seemed so blurry, so challenging, so insurmountable, but to do so not only with the hope that we could get through it, but faith that God was actually going to add to us and bless us in the midst of that dark and challenging time. So what I want to do just with the few moments that we have together, and we don't have long, is use an acronym for the word lens, because the Eyes of a Lion message is about looking at life through the right lens. And so LENS is how you spell lens. Let's just apply a phrase to each of those four. The L stands for look beyond. Look beyond. Don't just look at what you're facing. Look at it through an eternal lens. Look beyond it to what's on the horizon. So for us, that's looking at our daughter's death, but believing she's not in the grave. She's with Jesus in heaven. We're looking beyond the grave with a lens of faith, and we're looking at what God says about heaven, that I'm going to leave this world, my wife's going to leave this world, every one of us are going to leave this world. We have the hope of heaven. Jesus rose from the grave and promised life everlasting. If that's true, which he proved to be true by his resurrection, which has never been disproven by anybody ever, many have been converted trying though, that we have the hope of life after death. So I don't just look at her grave and feel sad, I look beyond it and I believe I'm going to see her again. So today, 3,938 days since she's died, I'm not 3,938 days further from her, I'm 3,938 days closer to her, because every day I get one step closer to being reunited with her in heaven. You can do the same thing by looking beyond your pain to what's beyond it. That is the bright future God has on the other side of his promises being fulfilled. The E stands for earnest expectation. That's a phrase that's used again and again and again and again and again in the Bible about hope. And specifically, it carries with it the Greek concept of being on tiptoes. The earnest expectations, Romans 8, speaks of God's plan for redemption, a brand new world, heaven and earth being fused together in perfection again. The earnest expectation puts us on tiptoe, where we're constantly not walking around flat-footed, but lions always walk on their toes. That's how they run so fast. That's how they can jump so far. When we live with earnest expectation, we're saying every day, God, I can't wait to see what you're going to do. I can't wait to see what you have planned. I can't wait to see, even in this chaos, why you said yes when the devil asked for this to happen, why you allowed in your sovereignty what you could have controlled. And I'm going to choose to believe with earnest expectation that it's because in your providence, you're going to redeem what in your sovereignty you could have prevented. I do believe God could have stopped my daughter from dying, just like he could have stopped any of the difficult things that have happened in your life. If he said yes, it's because he has a plan. If he said yes, it's because he is going to seek to utilize the difficulty to accomplish his purpose. And I'm not going to stand there flat-footed going, why'd this happen? I can't believe this. I'm going to get on my toes and say, I believe, even though this is hard and bad and difficulty, we're not putting a nice face on an ugly thing. God does have a plan. He is good. And I'm going to be an active participant in whatever it is that he has in mind. This is Jeremiah 29:11. This is Romans 8:28. This is Genesis to Revelation. God is good, and God is actively working to overcome evil that he didn't want to come to this world in the first place. And if you want an ultimate picture of this, look no further than the cross, where man did his worst, and God did his best, and God prevailed. The N stands for new normal. New normal is one of those phrases that people who are grieving use to talk about how clunky and clumsy it is to get used to life without your mother around, life without your, in my case, daughter around, life without your spouse around. And we just feel like this is foreign, this is challenging, this is difficult. But this is where we choose to look at our normal that's now new to us and believe that while it's never going to get easy, it's never going to get lighter even, this crisis, this trial we're asked to walk around holding, no, it will never get lighter. It's a very heavy weight to go through grief. But here's the good news. If you keep holding the same weight over and over and over again, ask a bodybuilder. The weight never changes. It's still going to always weigh 55 pounds or 100 pounds or whatever. But eventually, with time, you'll get stronger. And once you get stronger, as you gradually get stronger, that same weight that hasn't gotten any lighter will appear to be lighter because you have become more able. And so here's what the good news is about the Eyes of a Lion message and your new normal. As you keep walking, it gradually will feel lighter simply because you have become stronger. So don't give up. Let God day by day heal your heart and build up your spiritual muscles. And with time, you will feel like you can continue on. It won't be easy. It won't happen overnight. But trust God for the new normal to become something that's built into you. And then fourth and finally, we have scare tactics, LENS. S stands for scare tactics. And that is another way of saying you need to get some tactics for when you're scared. You need to get some triggers in a good way. I know we use that in a bad way, but all the bad words can be redeemed, right? Post-traumatic stress. Hey, what about post-traumatic growth? That's what I was talking about, by the way, with the new normal. So many people who have gone through hard things with time can look back on it with a sense of gratitude and almost deferential awe, where they're thankful for what God did because of the hard thing. Scare tactics, though. How to trigger the right reaction when you feel afraid. We all get that fright, flight, freeze feeling, and a lot of times in grief, you feel that, and you tend to want to run away. You see people coming. I don't want to talk to people. They're going to ask about how I'm doing. So our trigger is to run away from the thing we're scared of. And there's lots of things, Christmas for our family. It could be 4th of July, if that was your loved one's favorite holiday, and you're tempted to sort of like leave the country every 4th of July or bury your head in the sand and get rid of all the American flags. And that's understandable that reaction's there. But the scare tactics I'm talking about are where you learn to run toward the roar and do the exact opposite of what your fear is telling you to do. And it will be difficult, and believe me, there will be times when it almost feels like it's more than you can bear. But with time, you will have faced those fears, a little bit of that good exposure therapy, and where you sort of defiantly scream at the storm, do your worst, right? We're getting a little, Lieutenant Danish here, but you climb to the top of that mast and it may kill you. But I would rather take that venomous beast to my breast, and if it kills me, it kills me. But if it doesn't, then you know what? I won't have to live in fear anymore. These are some of the scare tactics you can get. Well, I wish we had more time to share, but fortunately, this book does exist, and there's also a kid's version as well called Roar Like a Lion. So I don't have to feel like I have to shove this all into this little box. But let me just say, this message is something I've seen lived out in the most beautiful ways, because like I talked about the eyes of a lion, well, there's two on the cover of this book. There's the lion's eyes, but then my daughter Lenya, her name means lion in Russian, Lenya Lion's eyes. We had the honor of saying yes when asked if we could participate in a cornea transplant. And after she went to be with Jesus, her two corneas, the outermost lens of her eyes, were given to two blind people who received sight. And they literally, if they're still alive today, they see life through the eyes of our Lenya lion. And I believe that God can do the same in your life, in your difficulty, in your hardship, whatever it is you've been asked to carry. That God is not mad at you, he loves you, and he wants to take your impossible pain and use it to unlock incredible power. God bless you.